Good morning, Sunny Isaac Ivy Carroll. Anna Christine Joy. Well, please type yes if you can hear me and view my screen. I hope. Which makes me to confirm there is no problem with the microphone or the internet. So anyone, Teresa, Ariel, Joey, Mark, Sunny, Isaac, so any one of you, please type yes if you can hear me well. I mean, audio is no longer a problem. Right. And please type no if you can't hear me. Please type yes if you can hear me. Otherwise, type no. Sure. So, so if you're able to hear me, then we should begin. Well, thanks, Gali. Gali, that sounds like. Well, Isaac, thank you very much for your response. It's a quick response from Hillary, Tracy. Thank you very much. So, what I can see, 19 people are able to view my screen after 49 or 48. So, I hope students will be joining us very soon. Thanks, Tracy. Amy, there is no such internet issues this afternoon. Could be. You may have a very good lunch, and I don't know whether you took a nap or not. I hope you can manage this afternoon classes. Well then, this week, let's see what we proposed last week that we can practice and familiarize this week about introductory paragraphs and building paragraphs, something passive voice and relative classes. I remember we practiced last week. Well, then we will try to work with introductions, how to draft an introduction, and what language knowledge that is helpful, and some techniques or how to initiate an introduction and so on. We will check that could be relevant to task 2. Well, before we get into this, let me share with you one thing about band scores. Then you will get to know what, oh my God. Well, that works. Well, then if you could maximize and check, then you can benchmark what is the intended band score that is required for your higher studies or work abroad or anything else. So this is what I was curious that you should be familiar with. What is CF level, Common European Framework of Languages framework. So they have got B1, B2, C1, C2, A1 and A2. Well, IELTS begins from B2, which means an upper intermediate or independent user of English. C1, which proves you are proficient in understanding and using the language, which certifies if you can achieve 6.5 to 7. The C2 is beyond 7.5 band, which means you are qualified or you can manage to pursue a master degree course abroad, maybe in the UK or US or some native English speaking countries. So which confirms that you can understand and interpret your knowledge to a common man or in your writing. So that's what it demands, 7.5. But naturally, what I can understand, 7.5 beyond is for the people to work in English-speaking countries as an expert or a professional, as a professional. See, there are so many professionals, but quite often we see medicine, law, and accounting firm jobs, what we treat them as professional. Now, band 9, as far as my understanding, band 9 is a native speaker level, but in fact, many native speakers fail to achieve band 9. So, let's be realistic. Why do you think they say achieving band 9, many native speakers fail? That's the key thing I want you to understand. I'm sorry about this. Ouch. Well, the key thing. So what makes native speakers, even they fail to achieve band 9, it's because what Cambridge is looking for is not the language 100%. Like I told you, according to Cambridge Assessment English, they look information how relevant and appropriate that is meeting the requirement to the given question. It's not about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. That's not the key. As far as my understanding, the number of information, the number of relevant information you have in your mind on a particular topic is what we call language skills. If you have got, or if you have collected or gathered relevant information with you, then which you can absolutely communicate very well. That's what a Cambridge is looking for, what we call it cohesion, coherence, and some kind of a logical connections, what we call it cohesion and coherence. Well, then what is about this grammar, accuracy, range of grammar and all? These and all, I can name it, it's a common sense. That's it. But common sense give you, proving your common sense up to 60% helps you to earn, what about 5.5 or band 6. But providing variety of information, which is relevant, appropriate to the question, which helps you to earn beyond 7.5. So, what required to achieve beyond 7 is your reading habit is required. You need the world knowledge, how the society functions, social problems, everyday situations, what's happening around the world. So what we call it a general knowledge, that's what it required. I mean, you have to pay attention what's happening around you, what's happening in business, what is happening on TV. I mean, what's happening around the world with TV news. Then you will pick up more number of information. If you have more number of information, you should be able to respond relevant and appropriate, which helps you to improve your band score. That's what it matters. So in the classroom, what we are practicing and learning is to check our common sense of language knowledge. That's what we or intend to practice. That's only 40 to 40%. That's what I can tell. So what we are practicing is only 40%. 60% is on your hand, on your thinking, what number of information that you collect. Remember, 2 weeks ago we were working with Toolmin framework, 6 elements. That's what everyone apply in their writing and speaking in IELTS exam or at the workplace, because when they have more number of information, they apply or evaluate their informations with 6 elements of argument. So when IELTS writing task 1, writing task 2, it's a kind of a argumentative writing. So when you see argumentative writing, it's a kind of a framework should be applied to persuade or convince the examiner. Well, with all this, keep in mind as a mindset to work with the language knowledge in this class. Let's focus building a paragraph, how to draft an introduction, and then we will play a game to experiment how far are we capable of understanding about drafting introduction to convince the examiner or persuade the examiner to get a high band score. Maybe your intended band score could be beyond 6 or 6.5 or beyond 7.5. So you benchmark what's your benchmarked writing band score, 6 or 7 or 9. If you want beyond 7.5, then you should be working or kind of reading pretty much on familiarizing 6 elements of Toolmin model of argumentation. If you have benchmarked about 5.5 or 6, you should be practicing with the language knowledge, understanding grammar, vocabulary, and so on. So these are something we should be familiar, or kind of a common sense that you should take it with you before you applying for IELTS exam, writing or speaking, whatever. Well, let's begin working with an essay note, or working with a simple essay. which is writing task 2. It's easy to understand. I need you to read and try to identify what kind of a strategy the writer or author adapted to draft an essay. Let me share with you. Yeah. So that's in here. I remember we have practiced enough. Maybe we didn't. Yeah, there it is. So this is an essay, task 2, getting away from it all. It's a topic. If you could read this, you can identify 6 elements that they have adopted because of this Toolman framework made him to write such a long essay. So I need you to read, if you are familiar with the qualifier. If you have practiced or if you are familiar, try to read that essay. Maybe the basics. The writer provided examples or evidence or not. And not sure. Marking your band score, and language is nothing but information. That's what Cambridge assessment is looking for, to give you a high band score. Now look for information, try to apply them. What number of elements the writer repeatedly used, either what we call it, number of claims or number of evidence or number of rebuttal or backing. So in your perspective, what element that you frequently identified in this essay? I can set you for about 7 minutes, and with this we are going to perform a few activities here and here. So, well, let's begin. Achieving high band score require your writing should go with a strategy. Let me see if you could enjoy the essay. I hope you can identify, and you can share with me what element you have identified frequently. You don't have to mention where that is, but you can help us understand. It requires 7 minutes minimum. Okay, 8 could be your lucky number. Your time starts now. I can read along with you. Well then, thank you very much. You could have tried. See what I have highlighted is not everything. It's just what that came to my mind. I could be wrong. Marking, highlighting could be an evidence or backing. But what I can understand, the writer drafted an essay and then he revised it applying Toolman framework. Then he happened to evaluate whether he is able to see 6 elements or 5 elements that is mentioned, acknowledged, that is given in the essay, which makes them have confidence to present in writing or speaking. Therefore, he can persuade audience. So that's what Toolman framework proved across the globe. Well, now the question is, for us in here, introduction, maybe up till then it sounds like introduction. So this is what I can name it. It's initiating a climb. But where is the climb? Getting away from it all. Sadly, don't regret my decision to go somewhere. In order to convince this, persuade this with an audience, he came up with initiating a climb, and he came up with his warrant. And here he came up with evidence as an example, here again as an examples. Then here again he came up with a claim. The first few months passed very quickly. So in order to convince, persuade this, I had a kind of an instant social life. In order to prove this, he came up with examples here. And 6 and 7 sounds like what possibly may go wrong, getting away from it all, from London. So he came up with, although my work placement wasn't exactly what I had expected, I can't say everything about my New York adventure. It was a plain sailing. Give me a second. Well, so this is how we came to understand about a writer revised his essay applying 6 elements. But now our objective plan for this week is how to initiate a climb or draft an introduction. So that's what we can. Now check your, open this, and then I want you to read them again. See, anything you read more than 3 times, anything you read more than twice, 2 times, you will be familiarized with 2 things. One, is the information, because first time you may be familiarizing the keywords and grammar things, the kind of a language knowledge. We read for once, and the second time we read for information. It depends. Some people first time they read for number of information, how relevant, how logically connected, and the second time they read, they look for chunks, what we call it, language chunking, or phrases, and what sort of grammar that is applied, drafting an entire essay, and so on. So people generally read two times. Once for the information, the other one is to familiarize the language knowledge. So with that in mind, I want you to read if required and respond to the text. Complete this table with positives and negatives of moving away that were mentioned in the article. So good points, which means we are focusing on the information, not on the language knowledge, which sounds grammar, vocabulary. That's not. See here, what is focused on the information is the high priority. Complete this table with positives and negatives moving away that were mentioned in the article. Good points about moving away, downsides of moving away. If you could read them one more time, you can pick. Maybe you can write it down on a piece of paper if you have, and then later on I can share you, and following which you can read again. Now this is for the language knowledge and this is for the information. So look, find the words or expressions in the article that have similar meaning to these definitions. Clear arrangements, concrete plans, had jobs organized. If you could read them second time, you will have this. Well, all I needed you to try to attempt. There is no right or wrong. Something is better than nothing. That's what it matters. Which means your performance is the key than the accuracy you have produced. Well then, and finally, we have this, writing about life changes and experience. This is something relevant to this article, or an essay. Well, I find it easy to mix with new people. Okay. So similarly, just make it a mark or write the keywords. Yes. So this is what I was talking about, vocabulary chunks. People read second time or the third time, they look out languages, chunking. Native speakers of English, they use language like chunking, phrases. See, mix with the new people, mix with the different people. They just see them as chunking. If you're doubtful, you can check it out here. See, a lot of my friends, and growing up there, everything is a chunk. See, by me sometime think things through. So when I happen to read, I just read through chunking. So when I graduated from the university a few years ago, is a chunk. I didn't really have any concrete plans. So this is where you can find here clear arrangements, concrete plans. A lot of my friends already had jobs lined up. A lot of my friends already had jobs lined up and went straight to work. That's a chunk. But things weren't so clear cut for me. But things weren't so clear cut for me. So that's what we can understand chunking. So my intention is to promote reading either an essay or an article. Read more than twice. The third time you read, I'm telling you, you will be refamiliarizing information, language, knowledge. Therefore, it's easy for you to interpret, and it's easy for you to identify what elements have been repeated from the Toolman framework. Remember 6 elements. So this is what, let me send to you about 10 minutes. I needed you to accomplish. Could be, it consumed 15 minutes. That's what I believe. So try to work out, and then I will share you this suggested answer key. You can compare. Then you will be able to verify yourself, or you will have the confidence. I read for information, and then again I reread to understand language knowledge and chunking. Native speakers, they don't speak word by word, but they do speak phrase by phrase. The third time you read, you will have the knowledge of evaluating an essay or an article or a paragraph. That's it. So let's complete this, then we will work with introductions. Ready? Your time starts now. Well, let me share you this. So that you can compare and see if you find it useful. So, having understood this information and language knowledge, now as a part of it, we needed to move there are phrases that could be useful writing introductions. So, we'll talk about introductions over time. When you work out on this, what we call it a first impression, that's what it makes convincing. So, in this 2 pages, could be one, yes, with this one page, we will have a task like all over the world, societies are facing a growing problem with obesity. So, this problem affects both children and adults. What are the reasons for this rise in obesity and how it could be tackled? So, in order to write this, I can share you this sample answer that I can find it in page number 126. I have it, but all I needed you to try to attempt. So, let's begin from here. Read this introduction and choose the correct options and discuss with the partner. So, over the last few years, it and then well, then if you notice previous activity and now, this is all about dealing with the language knowledge, what we call it a common sense. So, what I need you to commit mistakes and then check your answers. Only then you will be able to understand, because writing is a process. As long as you make mistake, as long as you make mistakes, you will learn gradually towards better writing skills. Maybe you can try this maybe after class, because what I have introduced, but let's straight away work with introductions. That's what we can save time, and you can understand what matters. I mean, how it should be begin with, where we happen to read an essay. It's kind of initiating a climb. That's what I can understand with this essay activity. So what I can name this, it's initiating a climb, but where the climb is right here. But let's see, there are very similar to this. It's what we call it kind of a hook, which means you just trying to stimulate or curiosity that you are going to discuss something relevant to the topic in the introduction itself. You know, in writing task 1, introduction is kind of a rephrasing the question. But here too, you could be rephrasing, but also to start with a hook, which helps you to bring curiosity. An examiner may further invest his or her time to check what number of relevant information you have given to the given, you have written to the given question, and then he could be looking up what number of how range of language knowledge that you have applied or used to your information. So a range of language knowledge and variety of information, which means variety of relevant information that is to the question. So those two things examiner will be looking out on your essay task 2. So let's practice writing introductions. And the other activity you can perform during your spare time, I can share with you the suggested answers. Well, the one who is able to join us in 2 minutes, we will get started. All I needed you to have patience, waiting time 2 minutes to join in. Then we will practice all about writing introductions. So we should be waiting another a minute, about a minute, then we will get started. So what I prefer is to learn from mistakes, is to learn by doing it. Will help you to think constantly, and when you are able to think constantly, you can connect something relevant. And appropriate for a better understanding. Well, maybe begin now. So this is not a lesson, we are playing a game. So perform what makes sense to you. Then we will discuss based on the polling. So how many parts are there introduction? This is, it sounds like you're guessing. So one way they draft and they write a few lines to initiate a climb. The other way they try to rephrase the question. And one more way they try to write a hook or kind of a curiosity they bringing in. So of the 10, of the 14, many guessed 3. That's what it makes sense to me. Allow me to end this since we have got less time. The key purpose is to learn from one another. Yes, it is. So how many parts are there in an introduction? Could be 3. So what do we call the very first part of introduction? Remember in part 1, in writing task 1, what we call it, rephrasing the question. So which is quite relevant and appropriate beginning of an essay, which comes from the question itself. What do we call the very first part of introduction? Let's learn from one another. We have got climb, thesis, bridge, hook. Allow me to end this. It's okay. Never mind about your accuracy. So this is what, when writing task 2, the hook is some kind of a simulation, some kind of a curiosity. That's what many people believe using this. So in other words, kind of initiating a climb. What is the purpose of the hook? Well then, let's see how many of us have come up with an appropriate answer. Yes. So the purpose of a hook. Now you have an idea what sounds a hook. A question, a quote or a lyric or a statement to get the reader's attention. What I name it, it's a kind of an initiating a climb. That's a statement that a statement to get readers' attention. It's called kind of an initiating a climb. A question is always lovely to use it. Therefore, you let an examiner to think for an answer, and he may have the answer within him. If his answer and your answer relevant, you will be gradually increasing your band score. So question is a good idea. What is the very last thing that should be in your introduction? Let me check what's your prediction, and then we will learn from one another. Well, allow me to end this so that we will learn what should be the last thing. That's it. Acclaim, yes. So this is what I was talking about: initiating a climb and then a climb. What, in other words, what we call it a thesis statement. Okay. If you if you love, or if you see everything is an argument in speaking and writing, so you can predict the purpose of the thesis or the claim. Okay, that's a super quick response. Let me check who gets a win. I mean, who is learning from who? Yes. A claim is to inform or to convince or persuade, scope, and so on. So offers evidence, for reasons. That's not, but evidence is a part of an element from Toolman framework. So the purpose of a claim gets the reader's attention. I don't quite agree with this, because in order to prove these thesis statement and claim, we should be working with evidence, reasons, backing, and so on. So I hope now you have completely understood what required is to write initiating a climb, or in other words, write a hook here. What's my favorite is question, because I'm not sure how far I can use lyrics, or it's a story. It's a kind of a personal anecdote, will give you and the examiner have a connection, because people love people. That's the human culture. So that sort of a connection will be given if the question is relevant. Your anecdote is relevant to the question. So hope you agree with me. That's not a climb, it's a hook. Climb is a statement or the main idea that you want to persuade, that is relevant and appropriate to the given question. It's what you can call it a claim or thesis statement. So how well do you understand the parts of an introduction? I mean, this is a kind of a yes. So, do you know one of the greatest pirates of all time was an officer in the US Navy? Is this a hook or a climb? See, it's a question. Let me check if you can understand the difference between a hook or a climb. Because in American writers or speakers, they believe in beginning with as writing or speaking, they begin with the climb, but it's always a good idea to begin with the hook, kind of initiating a climb, and then okay, it's a quite easy question. I mean, in this right now, okay. This is a hook because it's a question, lyric, or a personal anecdote. It's a hook, and then we write the thesis statement, which sounds a main idea. We respond, which is relevant and appropriate to the question. Okay, now you will have a better understanding. Blackbird, I'm sorry, Blackbeard is one of the most loved pirates. Black Pearl, actually, I'm sorry about this spelling. Is this a hook or a climb? When it reaches beyond 10, then we will end up. So what we are practicing is to draft introduction paragraph, because that's what the impression begins. Okay. So this is a statement, therefore that's a climb. Hook, 5 of you believe it's a hook. Hook is a kind of a question or a lyric or one more personal anecdotes and so on. So in order to prove this, Blackbird is one of the most loved pirates. It could be providing evidence, backing warrant, and so on. One paragraph, one essay, one sentence, one word. I hope it's easy for you to guess, since we are talking about climb and thesis. But let's take a look. That's just one sentence, because what I was talking about, main idea, is one main idea that's more than enough to prove through evidence, through number of warrants, through number of backing, and a few rebuttals, qualifiers. So a claim could be one sentence. You don't have to. All you need, a paragraph needs only one main idea. We don't need one paragraph enough long ideas. Then it's It's a kind of a random evidence that we should be able to provide. If we have one paragraph long claims, is this a good claim? Thor is better than Iron Man because he has indestructible hammer. He doesn't need a suit of armor and he has super strength. Thor is better than Iron Man, that's the claim. And what others you see is an evidence to prove or to persuade. So when there is a claim and there is an evidence, do you agree with me it's a claim or not? Yes or no? Consuming more time? Okay, let me help you to understand, which is a yes, because a claim will always goes with evidence. Without evidence, we cannot prove our main ideas when it comes to writing or argument. That's what a writing task 2, an examiner will be looking out. When you have a main idea, what supporting evidence do you provide to prove your idea should be relevant to the given question? Thesis statement should include your opinion on the points that you're analyzing. Now, a thesis statement and a claim is same. True. That's what. Include your opinion. Your opinion is nothing but your warrant, kind of your personal assumption. Okay. So a claim statement or a thesis statement should express a main idea that links to the supporting points. Okay, I hope I got the quick response. Therefore, many of you are right. True. What is a thesis statement? A general idea what the essay is about, a summary of the main idea, a statement that explains the main idea of an essay, a suggestion that you read. Okay, let me end this so that we would better learn so quick. The thesis statement, a statement that explains the main idea is the key. I hope now you have understood very well what is a thesis statement, what is a claim. that you are coming up to bring relevant and appropriacy to the given question, a statement that explains the main idea of an essay. Which one is a good thesis statement? See, we are talking about the thesis climb and all about that should be dealt with in introduction. Only then you should be able to provide relevant evidence and warrants in the upcoming paragraphs. Therefore, you will likely to see the logical connections to your essay. Okay. I hope now you are familiar with the difference between claim and evidence. Absolutely. See, marijuana should not be legalized. And because it's harmful to your health, it's a complete statement. One complete main idea. That's what we can understand. It should be mentioned in the introductory paragraph. Okay, this sounds repeated. Where should the thesis statement appear? First paragraph, anywhere in the essay, last paragraph. Okay. Now let's learn from others. In the first paragraph should be a better idea. The reason behind it's a timed test. Your main idea should be appeared as quick as possible, and we should not give what we call it. Examiner will be, IELTS examiner will be correcting more than 100 essays a day. So he should be checking with what is the main idea which is relevant to the question. If that's happening in the introductory paragraph, and the next part he will be checking, did he provide examples or supporting information to the main idea, combining these two, which is relevant and appropriate to the given question. So that's what an examiner will be looking out for information. We have variety of information in the name of evidence, and you have understood very well the question, so you came up with one key idea, so which should be good if that is mentioned in the first paragraph. So okay, we need not think pretty this long, but to understand, a claim statement or a thesis statement should include your opinion, your warrant on the points that you are analyzing. Let's end up in here. That's true. Because main idea and your opinion, it's what we call it a personal assumption about your main idea, should be analyzed. And if you are able to analyze, then you can provide backing as a form of evidence to your opinions. So therefore it is true. See, the key thing, we are repeatedly working with the thesis statement and claim, because that's what it matters in the essay. Okay, let's take a look. The purpose of the claim or the thesis is to state your opinion, to prove it with relevant examples. Because any writer or speaker, what it matters is one main idea, that if you are sure your main idea is relevant to the question, you can expand the number of words using evidence backing, rebuttal, qualifiers. So should the thesis contain a statement of what you believe to be true? A thesis contains a statement. What you believe to be true is what it matters. That is, yes. That's what we mean. What you claim, what we call it a claim, a statement that you believe to be true. So this is these questions, or the mind voice, or running through the mind of an examiner. So which of the following is a major component of any thesis? So an examiner will look out in your essay, about 250 words, where is the claim or a thesis statement that he believed to be true, and then making a claim. That's it. And then whether to ask, I mean, it's a kind of making a claim is to ask others to accept by providing evidences, examples, which should be relevant without any logical mistake, which means appropriate examples. Okay, this again repeats. So let me end this. We have come to an end, I believe. Yes. So what what am I promoting throughout this classes, throughout this writing introduction and all? Claim, warrant, evidence, or the three primary components what we call it, an outline of an argument should be given, should be initiated. I mean, a claim should be acknowledged or mentioned in the introductory paragraph. Okay, now I hope what we have learned: a claim, a hook, and rephrasing a question, these three will play a key role in writing introductory part. So it is best to use a quote in your thesis statement, your point of view. Is that okay or not? Okay. Do you think examiner will agree? No, because best to use your quote as a hook, and then it's a kind of an initiating a claim. Therefore, it's false. Well, with this, what we have practiced: writing introduction, what it matters, and all. But overall, I hope you agree with me. Writing introduction or writing an essay, Toolman framework play a key role, which helps you to write or expand your essay beyond 200 to 250 words. So I believe you can check with your previous class and the journal, the article I have provided, or visit internet or YouTube, learn more about Toolman framework. We will be combining this Toolman framework and writing essays in the upcoming weeks too. So I hope this week we have familiarized language knowledge and information, then a strategy, what we name it, Toolman framework. So I hope to see you next week with a new strategy, what we call it. So next week we will be working out with topic sentences, passives. I think we have checked topic sentences sounds like a claim, but never mind, we will be working out with others as well. Well, thank you for now. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.